What's going on YouTube? This is Rybo at the bench, and today I have another cut or carry knife review. Today looking at the Ruike P108. I always get the 108 and the 801 mixed up. This is the 108. Reviewed the 801 before and I had some issues with it. I'm hoping that I just got a lemon. I would like to rebuy that knife at some point because I really like the way that it looks. Actually a lot more than this one, but I kind of stumbled into the chance to get this one. And I figured, why not pick it up? Just kind of see if my experience was just isolated. Maybe that was a lemon, or there was something going on there, or if it was more of a brand issue. So I picked this one up a couple weeks ago, and I've been carrying it quite a bit. This is a very surprising knife, and so let's do some size comparison, and then we will get into it. So first of all, I'll do my measurements here. So it's a fairly large knife. You're looking at about 3.5 inches on sharpened blade length, closed in the pocket. This is not a small knife. Let's see, you're looking at 4.73 inches. And then in terms of your thickness, apart from the pocket clip, you're looking at under 1/2 inch. So it's a fairly slim knife. It's 0.45 inches. Most pocket knives that I've got this size are right up there, about 1/2 inch thick. So it's fairly thin for what it is. Quick weight check, and then we'll do a comparison of other knives. So 4.2 ounces. It's heavy-ish, but if you think about something like the CRKT Pilar is 4 ounces, 4.4 ounces. This is like double the size, and it's right about the same weight. So not too bad, especially considering how long that blade is. Other knives to compare it to, so this is the Civivi Backlash. So you're looking at close to the same size. The Spyderco Para 3, a little bit smaller. And then one of my surprisingly favorite knives that I just absolutely love, the K-Bar Dozier. So you can see it's probably closer to the Backlash here, close to the Broker AK-74 full-size automatic that I just don't have at the bench right now. But this is probably the best comparison. You can see also that it's much thinner than the Backlash. All right, so what do I like about this knife? So quick story, like I said, I had the chance to pick this up. It wasn't something I was looking to buy, but kind of opportunity came up and jumped on it for a good deal. So I thought, I'd grab it. So that is to say, really, I didn't buy this knife because I was excited about it or because I really liked the way that it looked. On the contrary, I'm not a huge fan of the way that this knife looks. At least I wasn't. It's just kind of awkward to me. I think there are some good things going on, but you just have, I don't know, kind of an odd handle shape that tapers up, and then you've got these kind of, machining or whatever you want to call these different facets and whatnot. You've got this what is this, frame lock, safety or whatever, the lock thingy. I don't know what this thing is called, but basically it locks this so that you can't disengage the frame lock, basically turning this into a fixed blade. I'll talk about that later. But this kind of throws it off. You have this super weird pocket clip, this kind of conical shaped thing here that's blue, which I don't get the rake stuff with the blue. It's weird to me. You have an odd pocket clip in general shape, kind of this triangle thing. You just have a lot of weird stuff going on here, and the blade, is, I think it tapers down a little bit too quickly, just visually speaking. I don't know, it's a weird looking knife to me, and so it wasn't really one that I was super pumped to get and not really looking forward to. But it arrived, and I started using it, and immediately my thoughts changed, and then very slowly I really came over to love this knife. This has been the biggest surprise in a knife. Well, I say that, the Dozier was a huge surprise too. This one has been one of the biggest surprises from what my expectations were, seeing pictures, to actually holding and using the knife. This is a really good knife. I think it's about $40 And I've just been very, very impressed with this knife. So things that I like, well, the first thing and the most noticeable is that the action on this knife is absolutely fantastic. I've complained about, I think, the 801, the lockup, and some other things, but this is just as smooth as butter. It is very difficult to fail. I can probably do it, yeah. So you can fail it, but it is just, the detent I think is just absolutely perfect. I mean, it is one of the smoothest, both opening and closing, to be honest with you. It is just absolutely just buttery smooth. And so that's kind of the thing that most impressed me right off the bat, and honestly continues to impress me. Just fantastic. For $40, you're getting just an incredible action. You contrast that with some of the other, good actions at that price point. Something like this, which I believe this is on bearings, very good action, very smooth, but there's something about the weight of this knife, I think, with this kind of steel frame lock here, that just, it makes it a lot more satisfying. It's a lot more kind of belief in the knife. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's just a very enjoyable open and close, just incredibly smooth. So that I really like. Number two, the size. For being such a large knife, this is a very efficient knife. I think that the handle, while it looks pretty odd, visually, when it's in your hands, you kind of get it, because your thumb falls here where you have this facet right here. Your forefinger falls right here. You've got this backspacer thing, which kind of comes out above the frame here, and that kind of helps to fill your hand a little bit there, which is kind of a nice unexpected bonus there. It's thin enough to where you're not carrying a bunch of weight that you don't need, but it's not thin enough to where you feel like you don't have a good grip on the knife. It is, very, very big knife, and you can get all of your fingers on there. You can get a really good grip on this. I never feel myself wanting to choke up at all, which is a good thing. And so, that I really, really like. So, that's great. Another thing that I really love, like I've said many times before, the ability to cut and carry the knife are two very important things to me. This, I'll say, number one was the action. Probably the second most surprising thing was how great this thing is in the pocket. That's for a few reasons. One is, I just kind of mentioned, it's so efficient and it's so thin. You have just very nice geometry here in terms of, when this guy's in the pocket, you're never really going to hit that with the way that this pocket clip is canted. But the pocket clip itself, while it looks a mess to me, I am not a fan of the way it looks. Man, it carries just absolutely spot on. I mean, this, I don't know what this thing is called, this kind of design here with this cone. Whatever it is, they should use it and use it on every knife, because it's awesome. I mean, you have the benefit of kind of, a larger pocket clip down here, where you have a decent bit of mass, but you have this one single contact point, which means that when and I don't have my handkerchief with me, but when you're going in the pocket, what that means is you have kind of a ramp both down, and you have the knife that's pushing the material up and into the pocket clip. And I hope I'm explaining that correctly, or explaining it well so that you can understand what I'm saying. But what that means is just, and you never have to look at the knife. It slides right in, single point of contact. It holds it just fine, no slipping. But it's easy to get in and out. Very satisfying kind of pop as it's coming out, which is really cool. You do have these screws here, which is not great. You always want to see those flush, but haven't had too many issues with that. I think the pocket clip itself looks a little bit shallow, looks a little bit small, but in practice it's a-okay. In practice, it is one of the better pocket clips, honestly, that I've dealt with. It's deep carry-ish. And honestly, a lot of people complain about deep carry clips and then want something that sits higher. Honestly, I just want a fold over clip like that. I prefer that, even if it's not deep carry, to something that comes out from the screws. I think it holds better. Maybe that's just a mind trick, but that's just me. So this has been very surprising. Pocket clip is just excellent. This is really weird, but man, is it good. It's one of those things you just have to try in order to see how good it is. Other things that I really like, the blade. Again, aesthetically, not my favorite. I don't think it's the best looking blade. There's nothing real special about it. It's pretty basic, but it cuts like a dream. I mean, you can probably tell that. This is more like a kitchen knife. That's what this knife really reminds me of, is a kitchen knife design and everything. But the blade is really nice. You have a nice flat grind there, while you don't have, I guess you have this kind of swedge thingy here. I don't really, again, blade, is not the most beautiful thing, but functionally speaking, it works. Use this to cut food, cut boxes, cut tape, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, it's a bigger blade, so like if you're going to be opening packages, it's probably not going to be my go-to. I mean, if it's in my pocket, it is, but like this blade shape is just not, generally speaking, my favorite to do stuff like that. I love a cleaver or something like that. It's got more of a pointed end, no issues there. It's really good. The lock is great. I think this is just the right amount of pressure you need to release and for the lock up there, so no issues there. It doesn't stick at all. That is one thing that I have noticed on this knife, especially after carrying some other steel frame locks recently. I'm trying to think of the ones, the CRKT Pilar. There's some other ones, but one thing that I've had issues with is sticking on the disengage, and I've had no issues with this. It's been very, very smooth. I don't really know what they do in order to get that, but it has been really, really smooth and really, really nice. So I've really enjoyed that. All in all, the tolerances, the pressures, the detent, everything just seems absolutely perfect on this knife, and it's not something that I'd really expected from Ruike, but I have to hand it to them. There's a lot to love in the details about this knife. Even just kind of the sharpness of the edges. There's really no edge that's uncomfortable. Everything's nicely chamfered or rounded off, and even the disengage, you have this kind of texturing here, and it is more grippy, more aggressive than any other part of the knife, but it is not overly aggressive. A lot of times you'll see jimping that is just, it kind of bites into your finger. I don't think that this really does that, but it is, aggressive enough so that you can differentiate it from the rest of the knife. And so I really like that. And then all in all, it's kind of made me like the aesthetics of the knife a lot more than I did before. Was not a fan, like I said, but have kind of come around to it. I like the goofy pocket clip. I do wish it wasn't blue. I just think that's really dumb, but whatever. All right, things that I don't like, there's a couple. So one, where am I gonna start? Let's start here. So, I hate this. I really hate this. It's engineering. It's cool, I guess. It's different, but I really hate it. Aesthetically, I just hate it. It interrupts everything going on in this knife. It just makes it way too much when you have the pocket clip here. You have a frame lock, which has some complexity to it anyway. And then you add this thing, and it's like this double jimping, whatever, plus the screw on there. I hate the way that it looks. Absolutely. It just ruins the aesthetics of the knife for me. Functionally speaking, I don't know why a pocket knife ever needs this. I just don't get it. Okay, so you want to not allow the person to take the to disengage the frame lock. Why? It's a pocket knife. It's not a fixed blade. And so if I accidentally push that up and then I'm trying to close the knife and I can't, then I just don't see functionally why anyone ever needs that on a pocket knife. You can feel free to comment below and tell me why I'm wrong, but I do not see any practical benefit to this. It's one more thing to go wrong. It's added complexity for no benefit. And it looks bad. So for me, just not at all a fan of that. I think it's something that they probably did just to say, hey, look, we can do this. And that's just not something I love. So that's one thing. Another thing is, so this is very nice, this backspacer here. I don't know why it's black. It's kind of weird that the rest of the knife is this kind of steel. You have this blue here, and then there's black here, which is just weird because you'd think either match it to the blue here or just do steel like the rest of it. Black is just kind of throwing me off. And then you have this, which I assumed was a glass breaker because that would be the only reason to have kind of a point coming off of here because it's just otherwise uncomfortable, you know, anytime you hit it. I'm not sure that that is a glass breaker, to be honest. I'm not going to try it out. But it's just weird. The lanyard hole is not really big enough to fit anything through easily. It's, you know, this kind of weird triangle shape. You have these just weird angles and this sharp pointy bit at the end. Again, kind of ruins the aesthetics of the knife. I think if you take that away, you know, that nice, I don't know, I think that would have looked a lot better. And even left that, the backspacer in there to kind of give you more in the palm, but just taking that end piece off, just not a fan at all. Other things that I don't like, I mentioned the screws that are proud there. Not a huge deal, just a little something. The steel choice, I think this is 14C28N. I really have no issues with that at all. Let's see. Otherwise, the name, I mean, Rake is not a great name. I don't really know how to pronounce it. Yeah, the blue, I think I've mentioned that a few times. That's probably it. Besides that, and kind of my final answer here, cut or carry, this is going to be a carry for me, at least for a while. I'd actually been looking for a knife that had a smaller blade, something, you know, kind of the antithesis of the Dozier here, which has this nice wide belly blade, which I really love. But I had some specific cutting tasks in my shop that I needed a blade that had a kind of a thinner blade and longer. That was actually, you know, two of the things I was looking for. And so while I don't love the aesthetics of the blade, this is exactly what I need. Holds an edge very well, is, you know, incredibly, surprisingly smooth and enjoyable to operate. And so this one, oh, and I'm sorry, I did forget one thing that I don't like about the knife, which is the same thing I say on every steel frame lock, the steel frame lock, right? So it's very slippery. I just, you know, but that's the nature of the knife. Like, you're buying it knowing that that's what this is. It's just not my thing. My hands just slide around all the time, you know, whatever. Especially in a workshop, you know, where I'm sweating and whatnot. But anyway, back to the conclusion. So you know, I'd been looking for a knife that was, you know, about this size and had a thinner blade. And I've been using it for that, and it's been fantastic. It's exactly what I wanted. So this will be hanging around for a while. I've been surprised at how much this finds itself into my pocket as a daily carry because of how nicely it carries. Very thin, right up against the pocket wall there, and I can pretty much carry it in most circumstances. So for me, this is going to be a carry. Really like this knife. This was just a very, very surprising knife to me. I did not expect to like this. I kind of thought I'd buy it just to review it and flip it, but really have enjoyed it. So hope you have enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.